Today, we are going to read a letter that that I received recently, and I must tell you, it is one of those stories that you simply cannot ignore.
It is not just a case of infidelity. It is something much deeper, much more disturbing, and far more difficult to name. This is the story of Catherine, a woman who believed she was witnessing the rebirth of her marriage, only to discover that she was being used as a canvas for her husband's darkest secrets. This narrative will take us into the heart of a double life and the terrifying way some people can mix two opposite worlds without ever feeling a shred of guilt. My name is Catherine. I am 42 years old, and for more than 20 years, I have shared my life with my husband. We have 2 children, a beautiful home, and a history that I thought was our greatest strength. We had our routines, our stability, and that quiet comfort that comes with knowing someone for half of your life. I never expected our relationship to be perfect. I knew we had our flaws, but I always believed we were a solid couple, a team that could face anything.
About a year ago, however, I began to notice subtle changes. They weren't obvious at first. No lipstick on the collar or late night phone calls. It was just a constant, slow drift. He started spending more time away from home, citing work meetings, deadlines, and a general sense of exhaustion. I didn't suspect anything right away. When you've been with someone for 20 years, trust isn't just a choice, it's the air you breathe. You want to believe in the person you built everything with.
But then, something confusing started to happen. He began bringing me gifts. Not the typical flowers or jewelry, but intimate gifts, fine lingerie, and delicate underwear. At first, I was surprised because this wasn't common behavior for him, but I was also happy. I took it as a sign that he was making a real effort to rekindle our passion, to ensure we didn't fall into the trap of monotony that swallows so many long-term marriages. I was grateful. I thanked him. I wore those things for him, and I felt a renewed sense of hope. I never stopped to think too much about where they came from or why he had suddenly changed. I simply accepted this new side of him as a gift from fate, a second chance for our love.
Until the day of the party. It was a normal gathering with friends and acquaintances, a calm and pleasant environment. While we were there, a woman approached him. She was smiling, confident, and carried herself with an air of familiarity that made my skin crawl. She looked at him and said, "Hello? I haven't heard from you in days." I looked at my husband, waiting for an explanation, for him to introduce her as a colleague or an old friend. But he stayed completely silent.
He was paralyzed, unable to find the words. The woman continued, "When are you going to stop by my place?" At that moment, he finally found his voice, but it was tense and hurried. "Let me introduce you to my wife, Catherine," he said. The woman's smile shifted. It wasn't friendly anymore. She looked at me and said something that I still cannot erase from my mind. "Your wife? So, is she the one you take my intimate clothes to? Is she the one you give my gifts to, just so you can imagine you're still with me?" I didn't say a word. I couldn't. I felt as if the world had stopped spinning and the floor had vanished beneath me. I didn't make a scene, I didn't scream, and I didn't cry. I simply walked away. After that day, the truth began to fall apart in pieces, revealing a reality that was far more sinister than a simple affair. It wasn't just one woman. It wasn't a normal, parallel relationship. There were many. Women he saw, women he paid, women he visited. And the gifts he brought home to me weren't for me at all.
They were items from that other world, sometimes even the actual belongings of those women that he brought into our home as if they were part of our intimacy. I don't know how to explain the depth of that violation. It wasn't just betrayal. It was as if my life had been contaminated by a reality I never signed up for. He didn't deny it when I confronted him, but he didn't explain it either. He just said things like, "That has nothing to do with you," or "It's something separate," as if he could truly compartmentalize his soul into two different boxes.
Catherine's story is profoundly disturbing because it moves beyond the boundaries of common infidelity. Who tries to reduce this to just a lie is failing to understand the level of psychological manipulation involved here. What we are seeing is a dual process, a double life, and the silent integration of that double life into a sacred marriage. He didn't just hide his actions, he mixed them. He brought the artifacts of his betrayal into his own home and used them to interact with his wife. This changes the very nature of the betrayal. It's not just about who he was with, it's about the fact that he used his wife as a proxy for his fantasies with others. This requires a level of internal disconnection and a pattern of behavior that suggests this wasn't a one-time mistake, but a way of existing.
In long-term relationships, routine and emotional disconnection can drive people to seek escapes. But the point here is not the escape itself, it's the coldness required to live this way for a year. However, we must also address something uncomfortable. This does not automatically mean he doesn't love Catherine in his own warped way. Love and behavior are not always aligned in the human mind. And that is exactly why Catherine is so confused.
She is in a position where she still loves the man she knew for 20 years, but she can no longer trust the reality they shared. She wants answers, but there may be no simple answers for a behavior so complex and dark. Can you really rebuild something when you no longer know who the person standing in front of you actually is? This is not a betrayal that can be fixed with a simple, "I'm sorry." 20 years of history cannot be erased in a single night, but they also cannot be sustained by such a twisted web of lies. It's a tragedy that forces us to look at the dark side of human intimacy. Now, I want to hear from you. What would you do if you were Catherine? Is this a definitive endpoint, or is this something that could be worked through with professional help? Does the fact that they have 20 years of history and children together change your perspective, or does the nature of the betrayal make it impossible to move forward?
Catherine, if you are listening to us, please know that you are not exaggerating what you feel. Your reality was hijacked, and it's okay to not have the answers today. Sometimes understanding the magnitude of what happened is the necessary first step before deciding what to do with the rest of your life. We will see you in the next episode as we continue to explore these stories that challenge everything we think we know about love and trust.